Hello, I'm Paul Zohab. I'm a marriage and communication coach with over 15 years' experience supporting couples to have extraordinary relationships that can grow and be resilient and last a lifetime. We're going to look at about 6 different areas that, when you become familiar with them, makes compatibility rather simple and natural. One of the first things we'll look at is imagining your relationship as a bubble. Why is this? Because when you can imagine a bubble, then you can say what belongs in the bubble and one does not. We can ask simply, is what I'm about to do or say belong in our bubble or not? If yes, keep going. If no, stop. If unsure, talk to your partner, because we want to be safe and together inside our bubble. Inside our bubble, there's also listening skills. For example, one of the first listening skills is yes and. When you start a sentence with yes and, you get at least 5 blessings, 5 gifts. When you say yes, you've established a connection. When you say yes, they know they've been heard. And we're no longer reacting. We're thinking about what we're going to say next after our and. We don't have to be in a dispute, in a rabbit hole longer than it takes to say yes. And perhaps they want to say something, talk about a certain subject, but you haven't got an opinion yet, or not a strong opinion. So you get to go, yes, give me about half an hour and I'll have something to say. And then life proceeds. Another important issue in our relationship bubble is the word seems. Seems is important because we tend to speak declaratively, as if everything coming out of my mouth is the truth, like I'm doing right now. And we get to be responsible that when we speak truthfully, our listener is going to think about, is it good? Is it bad? Is it right? Is it wrong? Do I agree or disagree? And if what you say to your partner doesn't match what they believe or intend or remember, we're going to stop listening. We're going to stop communicating. And we're going to argue about whose truth is truer, whose reality is most real, and who's right and who's wrong. In which case, that's why we need the word seems right next to our yeses and ands. Seems helps us bypass the truth app. It's no longer about the truth, it's a seems. A seems will get you a discussion, where a truth will get you an argument. Yes, and. Seems to me we avoid talking about. Seems to me you've never agreed about. Seems to me we've never talked about this subject. A seems allows discussion. A truth leaves us vulnerable to an argument. So we have yes, and we have seems. And we also have the word and, which can be on its own. For example, let's go to Chinese food tonight. And your partner says, I'm not sure I want to do that. So you go, and, which connects us to the next conversation instead of stopping the conversation. A couple came to me and he invited her to go to the county park. And she said no. And they got into an argument at that time. But now they have a different outcome. He says, let's go to the county park. And she goes, yes, give me half an hour to finish my hair and I'll be ready to go. So with a yes and an and, they make it to the park. It can be simple as that. Yes and seems. These things belong in our bubble. There are words that we can speak that don't belong in our bubble. For example, always and every and never and only. These words inevitably turn on their listening app. And they're going to start evaluating what you said to them as whether it's good or bad or right or wrong or agree or disagree. And if they don't agree with you, we're going to argue again. So we want to use the word tends to, a magic small word that bypasses the truth and allows us to keep on listening. So a good conversation, like from now on, when you're speaking to your partner, yes, and it seems to me that we tend to. We've avoided the minefield of distraction. People are still listening, and we have a shot at communication. These 3 things, yes, and, seems, and tends to, belong in our bubble of communication. There's another area we'll look at. That's the area of love languages. Gary Chapman is known for writing the book, The 5 Love Languages, in which he distinguishes that people feel loved in slightly different ways. There's gifts, quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, and physical touch. And he tells us that we have all five, each one of us, but the significance can vary differently from one to the other. The next area we'll look at is your personality types. People have different personalities. I mean, we all know this. Some people go to thinking first. Think about Sheldon in Big Bang Theory. He lives his life cognitively, intellectually, and logically. His own feelings are not prioritized in the way he deals with the world. He's a thinker. The Myers-Briggs personality type, he is a thinker. I'm a little bit like that. However, I'm married to a feeler whose priority in perceiving life is emotional. So I do not argue with her feelings. It is a big mistake when you do that because it leaves them feeling unloved and as if we don't care. A thinker might say, "What's the big deal? I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. It's a yes or no question. Why are you making so much a big deal about this?" However, when us thinkers do that with our feelers, our heart-centered people, they wind up feeling like you don't care, and the relationship starts spiraling down into the darkness. Another personality type that I find frequently is there are people who are highly planful. They are called judgers, the letter J in the Myers-Briggs personality quiz. There are people who, the more they know ahead of time, the more confident they feel. They shop with shopping lists. They wouldn't go shopping without a shopping list. So the other area we'll look at is how to communicate. I can't spend much time here on that. This is a longer process, how to coach you to speak, be heard, and know yourself to be heard.